name is Michael Pomerantz, and you are back in the Escape Pod. On today's episode, I'm checking out a couple of video games that are very relaxing. One is called Raid, the other is called AFK Arena. Thank you so much for listening, and please enjoy your stay in the Escape Pod. Back in the Escape Pod. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks everyone for the comments and the support. Really appreciate your chiming in and checking out the Mpami Escape Pod. A couple of things as I do more of these, trying to do a synced YouTube that goes with the podcast is proving to be a little difficult for copyright reasons, which is strange because this is all news and commentary, but you know, that's from my lawyer days. So I'm wondering how far it's going to go. I can always post things on Mpami without redactions, but the ones that are posted on YouTube, particularly about music and movies, are not being accepted. They're being redacted, which means you can't hear the part of the music where there's a copyright claim, or you can't see the part of the movie where there's a copyright claim. So that's really annoying. I'm not sure how much more of that I'm going to be able to put up with. But for this particular installment of the Escape Pod, we're doing some video game stuff, and I don't think that'll be a problem. Thank you once again for checking out the Mpami Escape Pod. You can always hit me up at mpami.com, at Mpami on Twitter. And now I ask that you enjoy a little video game discussion in the Escape Pod. Part of me thinks these games are very annoying. I mean, this is the third time I'm starting on this piece of writing. First, I just want to talk about this game called Raid. And I guess the full name is Raid Shadow Legends. And there was a great marketing campaign. It's an arena fighter. You level up your characters. There's a zillion characters. And I was hooked by the marketing campaign, and I've been enjoying the game. I've been playing it a lot. But then I started thinking about tappers, because in a way, these are resource allocation games. We're talking about Raid, Shadow Legends, and there's another one called AFK Arena. So a tapper is a game where you start by just tapping the screen to get resources, and hopefully eventually you can get tapping to get done for you. And then you're accumulating resources when you're AFK, you're away from the keyboard. So I started thinking about the marketing part that hooked me into Raid. Then I started to think about tappers, and that fit with AFK Arena, which is another game I'm playing. Again, both resource management, both kind of turn-based arena fighters. There really isn't turns in AFK Arena, but really about going through these levels, leveling up your characters, getting more characters, and getting better prizes as you get better at the game. So now, on the third try, I'm going to talk about both, kind of compare and contrast them, and talk about how in my brand new, video game awareness during lockdown, even though these games don't have these big virtual worlds, they're still enjoyable for other reasons. Let's start with the first one. It's called Raid Shadow Legends, not to be confused with a game called Shadow Gun Legends. That's something, it's much more like Fortnite or PUBG or Call of Duty. It's a shooter, and you're in this big space. Raid Shadow Legends is nothing like that. Raid is an arena fighter, turn-based. So I decide what kind of skills I'm going to deploy for this particular character against my adversary, and then we see what the result of those decisions was, and then my adversary does the same thing to me, and my characters all get to have their turn, and my adversary's characters all get to have their turn. The action takes place in just kind of a small arena setting, and half the games are against an AI, and half the games are against other players' assets. In other words, you don't have to have somebody live like you do on Fortnite, but you designate defensive assets, and that allows for player versus player competition. And once you've got that, then you can scale up leaderboards and you can increase your level and get more goodies. Great artwork. This is, again, what initially attracted me to Raid. There's so many characters. The arenas are nothing to really write home about, but the animated action, when the characters are kind of duking it out, it looks good. And you get the hit points, you get the different animations for the different skills, and it all looks really nice. The main work of the game, however, takes place outside of these arenas in a town square. I think they call it a bastion. And this is where you manage your resources both before and after the battles. The action, the stuff that really changes the game and allows you to get better is this resource management part. The battles, you can have the battles go automatically. You can even have the AI run your battle. In other words, I pick the characters, but then I'll let the AI make the decisions based on the probabilities. And remember, with these games, as you level up or as you get different skills, it just affects your ability. It affects your probability. It's all just a statistical mishmash, and you can't figure out every one, although I guess some people are smarter than me and they can. But you're just trying to increase your statistical probability of beating the other guy, whether that's through the decisions you make on the turn-by-turn part of the game, or whether you just set it and forget it, just let it go. It works the same way. So this is a free-to-play game, and it's very enjoyable at the beginning because, like almost every other free-to-play game, you could just start ranking up quickly. It's very easy. You start to amass lots of resources. You don't even know what all these resources are, but it's very satisfying because you just feel like you're getting win after win after win. Also, by completing the challenges to get extra resources, in other words, you could just play, try and figure it out on your own. But if you follow the trail of breadcrumbs set up by the challenges, then you're going to start to learn how these myriad different in-game currencies work. And that is the key to being more successful. The strategy is in part deciding which skills to deploy in the arena, but more so how to use your resources to get the most out of your characters and then to, level them up. As you go on, the longer you play, the resources that you need to upgrade become much, much harder to get a hold of unless you pay actual money. But if you don't mind slow progress, and I don't, I'm not going anywhere, the game is actually pretty fun for a freebie. Now let me talk about the in-game economy before I get to the other game, which is AFK Arena. But both in-game economies have a similar philosophy. There is a common feature with these free-to-play games that is incredibly daunting. It seems like you'd have to learn an entirely new language to keep track of every aspect of the in-game economy. So I want to go back to my experience playing this game, Real Racing, which I played for years, still playing, not so much, but the game comes out in 2013. It is instantly easy to just start amassing tons and tons of the regular currency. But that doesn't always get you what you want. Most of the really fancy cars in Real Racing, they have to be purchased by having a ton of extra super special premium currency. And you can't just buy premium currency with the common currency. It takes time, you've got to complete challenges, or just pay money. So the premium currency is the key to the game, but it's also very hard to come by. And only in the past couple of years, Real Racing has added a third type of currency that's just devoted to motorsports as opposed to road cars, but that's a topic for a different podcast. In the meantime, when we go to a much more modern game like Raid, you got currencies, it's too numerous to even count. There is the primary currency, use that for upgrades and some purchases at the market. There's a super premium currency called, I think it's rubies or gems. And, the game really wants you to buy lots of these with US dollars. There's special coin for taking part in the player versus player matches. It's almost like like an admission token. You run out of those. You can only have so many of those. There are time-limited tournaments which have their own currency. So if you're involved in the time-limited tournament, you're earning a special currency that gives you standing in the tournament. That currency can't be exchanged, but it's a way of keeping score. Some of it can be exchanged. There's also a different currency for, gear becomes a currency, really. You can't get rid of it, but you have to upgrade it. You have to pay to stop using it if you want to keep it. And if you're just hoarding lots of gear and not putting it on your characters, they're not going to perform at an optimum level. There's other currencies like potions and books of knowledge, which help level up characters. There's scrolls that level up their abilities. So there's all these assets that you're trying to get a hold of. And the more of them that you have, the more you can upgrade your characters and become more successful in the game. There's even alcohol or brews. It looks like a mug of beer, and that helps you upgrade your players. Those are very hard to come by. So really, they've just laid out an array of things that you need, and they're not so interrelated, but everything has its own purpose. And of course, you're bombarded with, relatively unobtrusive advertisements to say, oh, you can get this, and this, or 10 of these, 4 of these, 2 of these, and 1 of these. Just give me $5. And some of it is crazy. Like you can get this special legendary character plus this gear plus some of this currency and this, and it's $100. Like, is anybody doing this? Again, I have not paid anything for this game, but I'm still having a good time with it. Plus, there's other places and currencies and characters to get into where I haven't even unlocked the stuff yet. So the game has extraordinary depth, not in terms of a geographical model, but in terms of an economic model. If you are curious about exploring this economic model and all the different ways that you can upgrade your characters, there's a lot to just sniff around at here. And to me, that's part of what's interesting. Let me talk about the characters for a second, because they are a form of currency. The lesser characters can be sacrificed. Sorry, lesser character, you're being sacrificed in order to level up the better characters. And you have decisions to make about which characters to keep, which characters to sacrifice. How much do you level up somebody before they sacrifice? If you give them lots of gear, it costs a lot of primary currency to take the gear off. And I counted, there's over 475 characters. And that's not including a few classes that are still hidden to me because I'm only at like level 30. Each character, when you're shopping or when you're getting to know them, they could be viewed in a 365-degree view. The small versions look great in the battle arena when they are running back and forth and hacking each other or deploying their special skills. And it's actually very cool. Like, this is the incentive. This is the thing you're playing for. I want to get the special character, and that's what I'm shooting for. All right, let me go over to AFK Arena here, because this is a very different look, even though a lot of the economic and philosophical underpinnings are the same. First of all, I'm only playing AFK on my phone, and one of the things I love about a casual game on your phone is that you can play it vertically. You don't have to turn the phone over. So, as I said before, AFK means away from keyboard, and of course I only learned that from watching hours and hours of YouTube gaming videos with my 8-year-old son. I still, speaking of the nomenclature, I still don't know if OP, when I hear that in these gaming videos, is on point or overpowered, but I feel like both work. Anyway, if something is OP, I know it's good. But as the name would suggest, AFK Arena has things that happen in the game when you are not playing it. And this is a well-established model that comes from the tapping area. When you get a tapping game, and these are tycoons, it's like Business Tycoon or Hotel Tycoon, you're tapping to generate the lowest level of progress. And then eventually you've tapped enough so that you can buy some sort of resource that taps for you. That tapping happens when you are not using the game. That's why these games are called idle, because when your phone is just sitting there, presumably it's making some kind of progress. It's the warm, fuzzy feeling of passive income. And that is what is so, I think, a big part of what is so attractive about these games. Now, it's another arena fighter like Raid, but although the characters are very beautifully rendered, it's 2D. And when you see them fight, it's almost Monty Python-esque. But, you could still watch the hit points go down. You could still see them do their ultimate talents. And it looks pretty good. The fights are faster in AFK Arena, and there is some manual control, but I don't bother with any of that. The characters don't have... If there's a way to manually do all of the skills the way you would in Raid, I haven't figured that out yet. So I just set up my team based on affinities, based on probabilities, based on advantages, and then I let the computer run the battle, and I sit and watch it, and it's very relaxing. To make up for the lighter graphics, AFK Arena gives each character a very detailed backstory, and it locates them in this massive mythology of the game. It's really endearing. I mean, I stopped reading it because there's lots of characters, but the pictures are beautiful. The stories are really well told. There doesn't seem to be a problem with translation, which is really curious to me, but I love it. So, if you are feeling like you want to just chill out and get to know a certain character, there's a lot more meat on that bone than there is in Raid. Like Raid, AFK offers a long progression campaign that gives your heroes a chance to, keep fighting, keep leveling up. There isn't so much of a head-to-head contest in AFK. You don't go up against some other player's team. The player versus player aspect of AFK Arena is really borne out on the leaderboards and in the teaming. So you're getting a lot of advantages from being on a team. Plus, if you beat other teams or you beat people on the leaderboard for some of these time-sensitive events, you get extra rewards. So there is a thing where you're trying to beat people in a worldwide, connected, massive online environment. It's just that there's not as much space to enjoy it. Your exploration is more based on the depth of leveling up rather than this huge virtual world like you find in Fortnite. I haven't really gotten to know the team aspect of AFK in detail, but I am on some kind of team, and there are interactions with other players which lead me to get more rewards. This is, again, that trail of breadcrumbs approach. In other words, I don't know what I'm doing with the team. I don't know what my team's name is. I don't know who's in charge of the team, but I know I'm getting benefits from it by just following through on what the challenge is or the prompts tell me to do. Look, I like both of these games mainly because they're really casual. They both present engaging resource management scenario. And, my description of the overall look and feel is that it's a Dungeons and Dragons type style. The battles themselves aren't really even necessary because they just represent a clash of statistical probabilities. And like I said, with AFK, I just relinquish all decision making to the computer. But it's relaxing to watch. Certainly in AFK, it doesn't take any amount of time. And the ones that occur in Raid are really beautifully rendered with all the skills and the special effects and the animation, and they look great. And, it's exciting. You certainly want to win. And even as a non-paying customer, which I am for both of these games, the interface is still satisfying and has, like I said, that depth. Progression is really slow eventually in both, but that's what you expect when you're in one of these free-to-play, pay-to-win models. The point is you can explore the vast background of story, of leveling up in a way that for me is comparable to exploring all of the different environments that you have access to in a game like PUBG. The artistic work in both AFK and Raid, very different from each other, but they're both great. And the games are easy to just throw yourself into and just start enjoying and start leveling up. And then, what happens to me is when the progression becomes too slow to bear, I just find a new game to play. That does it for another episode of the Escape Pod. My name is Michael Pomerantz. Thank you so much for listening. The M-Pommy Escape Pod is produced, written, and edited by Michael Pomerantz. All music by Michael Pomerantz. We will see you next time in the Escape Pod.